The Pod News Weekly Review uses chapters. The last word in podcasting news. This is the Pod News Weekly Review with James Cridland and Sam Sethi.
I'm James Cridland, the editor of Pod News.
And I'm Sam Sethi, the CEO of True Fans.
It's incredibly valuable to us for creators to really make clear and digestible episodic titles and descriptions. That helps us discover your show.
Lizzie Hale from Spotify on how to get Spotify to promote your show. Plus,
we see video as really an evolution. We've been in the video game since day one, actually, so we've always thought it's a great place to grow.
Neal Mody from Headliner on the company bringing video to podcasts. This podcast is sponsored by Buzzsprout with the tools, support and community to ensure you keep podcasting. Start podcasting, keep podcasting with Buzzsprout.com.
From your daily newsletter, the Pod News Weekly Review.
Quick question for you. Did you know Spotify had a head of editorial for podcasts?
Do you know, I didn't actually until she appeared in a press release recently. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. She's called Lizzie Hale. And she's in charge of dozens of people across the world working on global podcast editorial for Spotify, from Germany to South Korea to the US. And if you've ever wondered how to get your show promoted in Spotify or how Spotify promotion works for podcasting overall, then well, me too. So I've asked her a ton of questions to her via email, Sam, which you'll see in full in Monday's Pod News. But she's very kindly recorded some of her answers for us too. So shall we hear what she has to say?
Absolutely.
Yes, why not? Well, firstly, I asked how internationally focused some of the promotion on Spotify is.
So one of the great benefits of having a global team is the ability to support show growth across markets. We have teams around the world who are constantly sharing standout shows and episodes that they think could travel across markets. If something really resonates, we want to reach the right audiences regardless of where it was made. At the same time, we know that listeners often connect most deeply with local voices and stories, so we prioritize making the experience feel as relevant to where you are as possible.
Now, is there a form to fill in to get shows promoted, and how do you discover shows to promote anyway?
There isn't a formal submission process today, though we are actively working through some ideas that are scalable, accessible, and also manageable for my team. Right now, the best way to be promoted is to really focus on building something that truly resonates and drives retention. That's what our systems, both editorial and algorithmically, tend to pick up on. My team is always really looking for content that we know our users are searching for. If you do have a big moment coming, like a launch or a major guest, working with your Spotify partner manager, if you have one, can help make sure it's on our radar. And then how do you discover shows to promote? This is a really big mix of art and science. Our job is to be on the pulse of culture and bring that to life on our podcast surfaces. So we are chronically online and tracking new launches, following cultural moments, and spotting the shows and episodes people are talking about. At the same time, we work really closely with our insights team to identify rising shows and trends through data. That combination really helps us find what's breaking through and then be able to amplify it.
Spotify loves video, clearly. I'm wondering if podcasts have to do video to get promoted.
Video is not required, but it's definitely becoming more important every day. It does create a deeper connection. Fans just don't want to hear a host's voice anymore. They want to know how they react, how they interact. That adds to a whole new layer to the experience. It also helps with discovery, especially when a listener is unfamiliar with a show, giving people more context up front and making it easier and easier to evaluate whether something is a good fit for them and their interests. Delivering an amazing user experience for fans is one of our main goals as a team, and more broadly, listeners are starting to expect that flexibility, the ability to watch or just listen depending on the moment. Shows that offer both formats tend to meet the expectation and create a more engaging experience overall, which is what we're focused on.
I think that's a yes. Spotify is very personalized, it seems to me. And I was curious how much control the editorial team really has.
So discovery and personalization are really at the core of Spotify. There's so much great podcast content out there, and if you love podcasts, you're always looking for what to listen to next. Our aim is to close that gap. We've built some of the most powerful recommendation systems in the world to do that, and we're constantly adapting what we show you based off of what you're into and what's happening in that moment. My team plays a really critical role in shaping that experience. In addition to highlighting standout shows and episodes and curating key surfaces and making sure we're reflecting those real cultural moments, not just what's already really popular, we're also embedded in product work streams. This means that we're helping to guide our recommendation systems and directly inputting how personalization shows up so it's engaging for users and really represents the diverse set of creators. It's really about building that holistic system, human and technology, that surfaces the right content at the right time and really gives more creators a real shot at being discovered on Spotify.
And I asked what podcasters can do to help Spotify's editorial teams.
I think it really comes down to doing the basics really well. It's incredibly valuable to us for creators to really make clear and digestible episodic titles and descriptions. That helps us to discover your show, understand what it's about, surface it to the right places, and help listeners know what to expect. For many people, that's all they have when they're deciding what to press play on. We have actually tested cover art with users, looking at different types of artwork and title variations, and what we found was pretty consistent. It's not the flashiest or most clever options that win. People really tend to gravitate toward the ones that are clear and informative. So this may seem like kind of design 101, but of course you have to make your cover art visually interesting, but even more importantly, very easy to read. On the back end, opting into things like transcripts and chapters helps with discovery more broadly. It means we can, again, understand and catalog your content at a deeper level, which in turn really enables more personalization, recommendations, and matching listeners to the specific topics and moments inside your episodes that we find really valuable.
Lizzie Hale from Spotify, really interesting. Just get the basics right, as she has just said. Make sure that the cover art works. Make sure that it's, the ones that are clear and informative, as she's said, which I think is interesting. And also, opting into the transcript stuff, is good as well. Really interesting. More of that in the Pod News newsletter on Monday.
Nice. Well done. Good capture. Now, let's move on, James. Sticking with Spotify, though, they've started to redesign their tablet to focus on discovery. Now, normally not a big story around podcasting particularly, but I did find it interesting that they are actually focusing on making it a tablet-first experience rather than just taking the iPhone app and just sizing it up. And again, I think one of the things that I've always said is Spotify's secret sauce is their ability to be everywhere on every surface, car, desktop, and I think they do it really well. Nicole Burrow, who's their head of design and consumer, and she said, the tablet gives you more room to explore, so we designed it to let you browse and discover new favourites alongside what you're already playing. Do you use a tablet? I don't, but do you?
I've got an iPad which I use occasionally. You'll normally see me with it at conferences and things because it's nice and easy to carry around, but otherwise, no, not really. But I think a tablet is very much more a consumption device. A phone does a little bit of both. Obviously, desktop is entirely different. So actually having a user interface specifically for tablets makes an awful lot of sense, I think. And you can almost see that actually it would be quite useful just to have a tablet in the kitchen or whatever, always logged into your Spotify playlist and connected to the big speakers that you've got in your kitchen, for example. That would be quite a handy thing. So I think it's quite clever that they have looked at a particular tablet idea there. I think that's very neat. So as you say, I think, the clever thing about Spotify isn't just that they are on all of these different surfaces, all of these different places, but also actually you are now more and more getting a very bespoke experience on each. So the TV experience, which I do occasionally, very different to the phone experience, now very different to the tablet experience. I've got a Google Chromecast. I've got a couple of those. And again, the Spotify experience on that is very different as well. And so I think all of this makes an awful lot of sense.
I think the last part's telling, as part of the growing push towards video, the update means the switch to video toggle is now front and center, making it simpler to move into a more immersive viewing experience. So yeah, exactly what you said, James. Let's whiz around the world a bit more. The World Series of Podcasting, as I've called this. It's 6 years since the launch of the Podcast Academy, and you took an in-depth look at the podcasting's membership organisation. What did you find out, James?
Yeah, I found out a lot of things. This was, I think, 2.5 weeks worth of work into a little article that hasn't done particularly well in terms of page views, but that's not why I do these things. But really interesting to take a look at, for example, the Podcast Academy's accounts, which you can see if you know where to go. So you can work out, okay, well, roughly how many members does the Academy have? Has that number gone up or down? How important is membership to that organisation, or is the AMBIs the important thing? Well, I can tell you that membership is, important. They've got around 1,000 members, but the AMBIs significantly more important. It makes 6 times as much money, or whatever the figure is. It's not quite 6 times, but it's getting there. So the AMBIs massively important to the Podcast Academy, and actually, when you have a look back 6 years ago to the launch of the Podcast Academy, which I was actually part of, and I did a Q&A to the original board all the way back then, Hernan Lopez was talking about the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the people who do the Oscars. And the Oscars has 11,000 members. The Oscars bring in $4 million from membership dues and $150 million from the Academy Awards. So the Oscars are the thing that pays for that particular organisation. Similarly, the AMBIs are the thing that pays for that particular organisation. So that was a real eye-opener. There was another eye-opener. I can't go too much into detail in this podcast about it, but...
Lawyers.
Yes, yes, I don't want another call from the lawyer. Please, no.
They're lovely people, really, aren't
they are. They're lovely. They're lovely people, particularly this lawyer. Very lovely. But anyway...
James, quick question.
Yes.
What do you call 1,000 lawyers at the bottom of the sea?
A good start.
Exactly. Now, moving on.
But anyway, yes, a little bit of a story that I could not get to the bottom of about a mysterious change of the executive director. So that's the staff member essentially at the top of the Podcast Academy. Couldn't quite get to the bottom of that. I know more than I can write, obviously. There are limits in terms of what I can say and what I can't say. But that I thought was interesting. And I think certainly as a membership organisation, I think you need to be as clear and transparent as you possibly can. The other thing that I did notice actually is how US-centric the Podcast Academy has actually become. It used to be less US-centric. It is now much more US-centric. And I think that is something that clearly needs working on. I think that there are some ideas to take forward there. For example, every single winner in the AMBIs in 2026 was from North America, every single one. Some from Canada, yes, as well as the US, but that's about it. I think that the Podcast Academy should be there for everyone, and that includes, obviously Europe, down here in Australia as well. And, if you're organising all of your events for a US time zone, that's probably what's going to happen. So, I think that there's clearly room to grow there, but really interesting to take a proper deep dive at the Podcast Academy. I've I've been a member for the last 6 years. I will continue to be a member. I think it's a good organisation. But it's really interesting to just sort of peel back some of the veneer there and have a look at what's actually going on. You'll find that linked from Pod News on Monday.
James, I've called the Ambies the American Podcast Awards from day one, and that's what they are. And I actually don't have an issue that they are US focused and US centric. We have the Brits in the UK. If you look at the film awards, the Oscars are really American film awards. You look at the BAFTAs, which are the British film awards. I think, it's very clear that trying to get an international podcast academy has proved very hard, maybe very costly as well. I don't know if it's going to change. I agree that maybe if they took on the wider role of a global an award, but I don't think they're going to be able to achieve it. I don't think they have the bandwidth.
Yeah, I think that there are various ways of doing that, to be honest. I mean, if you go to the Podcast Academy's website, the headline is Championing Podcasting Worldwide. That's not what that organisation does. So they can't really claim that right now, but they probably should be. And I think the new executive director, Ami Thacker, who has worked all over the place, she will be a real asset to the Academy to do that, I think. But I think, what I learned when I was working at the Radio Academy in the UK, which is now called the Audio Academy, we had individual sort of chapter leaders in different parts of the country. So, one in Northern Ireland, one in Yorkshire, one in the Southwest, and blah, blah, blah. Some of those were really good. Some of those were appalling, but that's all fine. But you end up then having geographical leaders for a membership organisation. And I think the Podcast Academy should probably be thinking about doing that. And actually, is there something to happen down here in Australia, in New Zealand, in Singapore, all over the place? Yes, I think that there probably is. And I think that that's something that could be done without really spending an awful lot of cash, on that sort of thing. So there are opportunities there, and I'm sure that the Podcast Academy will get to that. I do wish that the Ambies was a little bit more reflective of great podcasting worldwide, and currently it's reflective of the US industry. I think the Oscars are a little bit different just purely because, the film industry is so focused at the US for various complicated reasons to do with the war. But I think, we need to be sort of careful there. But I think, the Ambies should be a bit more global. I should point out, of course, that they've got a Spanish Spanish award now, and of course they've got the International Impact Award, which myself and Stephen Bartlett were the first winners of. I don't know whether I can say, but I'm going to say anyway, that they will be giving away at least one more International Impact Award this year at the podcast show in London. Don't know who it's to, but I've seen that on a list, so therefore that's probably happening.
I better get dressed up quickly. That's nice. I better shave for the day.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, chance is fine.
We'll see.
Fat
we'll
chance,
see
I think
how that works.
Yeah, fat chance, I think, is the answer to that one. Anyway. Let's move on. YouTube Corner. I've got a few stories here from YouTube. The first one is to do with SiriusXM. James, what have they been doing?
This is a really clever, big deal that SiriusXM has done. So SiriusXM Media sell an awful lot of podcast ads anyway. And all of a sudden, they have been announced as the exclusive advertising representative of YouTube audio advertising in the US. So SiriusXM Media all of a sudden becomes a massive, massive player. Not that they weren't big before, but now a massive player in terms of audio advertising in the United States. They will be able to reach, just by buying SiriusXM, you will be able to reach around 90% of all US adults aged 13 plus. That's a tremendous figure, I think.
James, adults, 13 plus. I thought the idea was that we were trying to get teenagers off. Why do we measure from 13? I thought an adult was 18.
Yes, I think it's a US thing. I think US adults are normally 13 plus for some reason. It's just research, and those are the numbers. Yes, I mean I would imagine that there are certainly in some states and definitely in some countries there are rules about advertising to people under 16 or under 18. But that's just the number that we've got here. But SiriusXM also came out with a ton more numbers, and I suspect that it's because Edison Research normally talks about US adults 13 plus. Edison Research, working with SiriusXM, says that around 74% of US adults consume YouTube audio, which is an incredible figure, isn't it? 74%, or engage in listening first behaviors on YouTube. My assumption is that must be YouTube users. Rather than all US adults, but I don't know because I've not seen the full research. The one that I was really interested in, though, is 45% consume YouTube content with static visuals. 45%. So that's pretty much like any podcast that has just connected their RSS feed and away they go. And if you talk to anyone, they will say that's a waste of time. Nobody uses it. Well, we've got data now that says that 45% of people do. That's a pretty fine number, I think.
It is, yeah. I mean, I guess with the YouTube Lite feature where you can just, turn the phone off, put it in your pocket, it doesn't really matter what you're watching because you're not actually watching the screen.
Well,
so
I guess so. I mean,
nice.
I mean, it says here 48% listen while video is minimized or in the background. So yes, I'm sure that there's an amount of that going on that platform as well. But fascinating stuff, I think. So I mean, that's a tremendous deal for SiriusXM. It comes into force in the autumn, by the way, in the autumn for you lot. In spring for us, so that's going to be interesting to see what difference that makes. I don't also quite understand what audio advertising means on YouTube because I'm not very aware that there is any. But perhaps what SiriusXM will also be selling is audio advertising around YouTube Music, which might then mean that there's more of a free tier for YouTube Music. But however all of this works, it's all pretty good stuff, I think.
Now, last week, James, we talked about Spotify adding more controls. They were rolling out highly requested video controls to turn off loops, music videos and stuff. YouTube have just announced a way to avoid YouTube Shorts on the platform. This is part of their way to provide controls, I guess, for young people so that they're not always watching the screen.
Yeah, I think some of it is. I think some of it is also people like me who can't stand YouTube Shorts and would rather that they got out of the way. And I would just like never to see YouTube Shorts in my app. I think the difficulty there is, and Barrett Media wrote a piece about this this week, the difficulty is that actually podcasting has been using YouTube Shorts a lot to make sure that it can put clips in there, it can link through to full-length episodes and so on and so forth. And Barrett Media is saying, well, this is going to be a terrible thing for podcasting. I'm not so sure. I don't think it's a massive issue, but that I may well be completely out of it there. Being able to get rid of YouTube Shorts, being able to personalize your experience a little bit more is quite interesting.
Yeah, one of the announcements was that they're actually deprecating clips. So I had to look up what's the difference between a short and a clip, right? So a short is like 3 minutes and it's a standalone piece of content, whereas a clip is taken from an existing piece of long-form video or audio content. And it looks like YouTube are providing in YouTube Studio more tools to create YouTube Shorts. So although they're providing controls so that you can remove them, they are actually beefing up their support for them. Whereas they're deprecating and looking to third parties for the use of clipping technology.
Yeah, no, I think, you can very much see that YouTube has quite some opportunity with YouTube Shorts, because the shorter the video, the more ads you can sell around it, of course. So it's a benefit there for them, and clearly they just want more shorts in there. I know that they pay creators a bit more for shorts as well. I think there's something going on there as well. So they're very interested in terms of making that work, but also adding controls and things so that particularly for kids, that they don't see that those sorts of things is probably good too. But they're not just doing that, they're also seemingly, selling tickets to concerts as well? What's this story here?
Well, YouTube UK put out a story. Alison Lomax, the UK MD, said that 90,000 fans at the iconic Wembley Stadium to watch a football match, they sold out tickets in 3 hours. This was in partnership with one of their content creators called the Sidemen Entertainment Team. I suppose it's the UK's equivalent of Mr. Beast. That's the closest I can give you to it. They raised a whopping 6.2 million for charity. This, as they say, is the best example of fandom and the culture at its best. YouTube supported it. It was streamed live, but it was also a in-live person event. And I think they're going to be doing a lot more of them as well.
Now, when you say YouTube supported it, is that YouTube paid for some of it to get made, or is that just that YouTube put it on their platform live? Because that wasn't YouTube doing that, was it? I always find these a little bit strange, because you've got people like YouTube going, oh, look, and we streamed Comic Relief with the BBC. No, the BBC put Comic Relief onto your platform and streamed it.
Yes. No, I think it's the Sidemen streamed it on the YouTube platform.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, it's a strange one, isn't it? It's a very strange sort of, everybody else, Netflix, for example, will spend lots of money on content. YouTube just sits back and waits for people to give it content for free. It's a very strange thing. But I mean, clearly the amount of live content now coming onto YouTube is pretty big. They have got a number of different things that they are doing on the live platform. I think it's a great I pay for YouTube to get rid of the ads. I think it's a great product. There's an awful lot of great content on there. And I think one of the interesting reasons why it works so well is that loads of people put incredible content on there. Some of it is brilliant. Some of it is very carefully made. Some of it is just old TV that somebody has found on a VHS video and put onto YouTube, and no one seems to care. So there's all of this kind of stuff on there. But no, I think it's a really good service, and there's an awful lot of live TV channels on there as well, if you know where to look. So
I tell you what you should go and do is look at Alison Lomax's LinkedIn profile. That lady is having a blast. She must skip to work. Genuinely must skip to work. She's been at the Brits. She's been at Comic Relief. She's met Anton Deck. She's done the football. She's been over to Dubai for the Billion Followers Summit. I mean, great job, Alison. Well done. I
mean, great job. Although somebody was saying, because here in Australia, for example, we're always in thrall of the Google, managing director for Australia. Oh, such a big person. The ABC, for example, hired the Google managing director for Singapore, which was an unmitigated disaster. And the ABC lasted 2 years with Michelle Guthrie as their managing director. And there was an article that I read relatively recently that was basically saying what we have to understand is that the YouTube managing director for Singapore, or the YouTube managing director for Australia, is the equivalent of the Midland bank manager for Milton Keynes. They have no control over anything. They are essentially just in control of the people that they have working in that particular part of the world. And there's probably quite a lot of truth to be said for that. So.
I remember being in Microsoft and we would get the night before the release from the press team about what was being put out into the public domain literally the night before. And then we'd go out and meet the channel partners as if we'd known it for months. Oh, yes, let's tell you all about this. And we've got rude FAQs and we were briefed up to the nines, but we had, 12 hours notice? Yeah, that's all we got.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? That's the way that these things work. That's the way that these things work.
Yes. Look, let's move on. We talked about Neal Mody's company, Headliner, having its 8th birthday last week. And I thought, you know what, I'd reach out because one of the things that Headliner's done is been consistently delivering audiograms and now videograms. And I thought I'd find out from Neal a little bit more about who is Headliner today and are they for sale? Because I keep thinking they should be, or they are. We'll find out. Neal Mody.
Headliner is really a platform that helps podcasters grow their podcast. And so we have a variety of tools and solutions that really help podcasters find and grow audience across the web. And so we're most known for our first tool, which takes audio and converts it into video for audiograms. But we've got a bunch of other solutions that really help grow, and that has been kind of the focus over the last few years, growing across the web. And also, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but now with video podcasts as well. So glad to be on.
So, yeah, I mean, I first came across Headliner about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a great tool for creating audiograms. And that was how we used it at Pod News Weekly Review. We would take a clip of the show, we would add some animation to it, a cover up, and then that would go out to endpoints. The evolution of the company, then you got into transcriptions. And as you said, now let's talk about it. How are you helping podcasters grow when it comes to video?
So take a step back, kind of why we started Headliner is really, we've always thought that podcasting's biggest issue is that it's not present where people are. It's an island on the internet that you have to travel to consume it. Now, when you're on that island, most people love that island, but getting to that island is a journey. And so what we've always said is we need to bring podcasts to where people are. So the first tool, like you mentioned, helped them get their audio out to social media via audiograms. The next tool helped them get their audio to YouTube. So we did full-length videos. We were kind of YouTube's main partner in getting YouTube originally into podcasting and a big publisher of getting audio out to YouTube. And then the third was getting audio out across the web in a product called Disco. And so when you're reading an article on the web, you would see recommendations of your podcasts. And that's grown as well. And then the ad side of that product called Podcast Promo allows podcasters to pay to essentially market their podcasts across sites across the web. And that's really where the growth has been. And to your point on video, so we see video as really an evolution. And we've been in the video game since day one, actually. So while video is kind of a bad word, and YouTube was a bad word in 2018 when we started the company, we've always thought it's a great platform and a place to grow. And so while we did audio to video for all those start of Headliner, we've now focused on video across all our tools. So every single piece and product of Headliner now supports video. So you will see that in everything I mentioned. So now not only can you make your audiograms on Make, which is the product that does that, you can also make all these video clips. And so for a creator that has to make marketing materials from audio and video, we think we're the best tool in the market. And we're excited to actually offer it for free, the video tooling, as part of our 8th birthday. We've heard from many creators that the big issue with video is cost. And so we didn't want to add yet another cost or hike our fees. We're lucky to be a profitable and growing startup, so we didn't need to. And we kind of want to get on this video wave and meet creators where they are, which I think everyone appreciates at this point, and what's going on with the economy and the world. So what we're doing for our 8th birthday for creators.
Nice. I don't know if you've seen the story. I'm sure you are aware, but we've announced that they're deprecating their own tools for video clips and relying on third parties, but they're beefing up their video shorts. So a short is a 3-minute clip and a video clip is like a 60-second clip.
I think anytime YouTube's partnered with us in the past, it's been good for Headliner. So like for that audio to video, you're seeing that. And yet I think some of the big guys are looking to partner with us again for video clips. You'll be one of the first people to hear when that comes out. But I would say, look, we've been the number one company for video in podcasting for our entire lives. Now, it was mostly audio to video, and we know we're not the number one company for video clips or video podcasting clips, but we think this year will probably become that again, just because first is pricing, two is toolkit, and we've got all the podcasters already using us for their audio to video. So we're looking forward to trying to produce all these video clips. And I would say if people haven't tried it in a while, it's gotten very good. Many companies and individual creators are starting to use it. So I'm excited.
Neal, just remind us, why or how did you start Headliner? I mean, we're talking 8 years ago. Why did you start it?
8 years ago. It actually got birthed out of a company we had started called Spare Min, which was a micro podcasting app back when that was kind of talked about. And I think there was a few attempts. So the idea being you record quick conversations and publish them to the internet. Very much, one or two stops removed from like Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces, that type of concept. And that gained some momentum. But what we realized is audio was a second-class citizen on the internet. You could not post an audio file to Instagram. You could not post an audio file to most social platforms. You could obviously not post an audio file to YouTube. And so we made this way to convert, and we did some collaboration and help the Audiogram project. And then over time, we realized this is actually more valuable as more users were using that and got it pulled out of us. Podcasters were like, well, I've got my recording. I don't need to use your recording platform, but I really want to use this like tool that gets it out to social. So we essentially pivoted the company all around it, and that's what birthed Headliner. And we really rode that wave. I mean, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, it was just up and crazy growth. It was, like you said, you found it about 4 or 5 years ago. So we were just growing and growing, integrating with a bunch of hosting platforms, really becoming the de facto standard for converting audio to video. And now we're looking forward to doing that for video clips too. There's a bunch of tools out there, but no one who's, I think, struck the right balance of price, functionality, and really honed in on the podcaster use cases. So we're looking forward to doing that.
Beyond video then, what are the plans for Headliner going forward?
So podcast promo and disco have been actually the large part of our growth over the last few years. So when we saw kind of at the end of COVID, when we saw audio kind of decreasing in terms of its creation rate, consumption was still growing, but in terms of creators coming in and producing audio, we thought we needed to build something more than just audiograms. And we bet on this product that really no one had in the market, which was very similar to our previous company before all this, which was getting content out across the web on articles. And that took a little while to get going, but it's now grown into a very large kind of part of our business, and podcast promo is part of that. So if you have a podcast and you want to market it, we think we could be the best tool for marketing it. But I think with attribution and the tools we've built, we think we could be the best advertising platform for all of podcasting. And so that's actually grown, like I said, almost as much as our SaaS revenue, getting there. And like I said, we're kind of excited for where that goes. And what I'm super excited for is across the board, everything's now supporting video and video podcasting. And so I see, while it's been 8 years and the journey's been mostly up, a little bit down during the post-COVID creation slowdown, we've been lucky that we've been growing since video podcasting and disco and growing podcast promo over the last few years. So even more ahead of us than behind us.
So one of the things that came up was your support for creating clips to TikTok. I remember you did that a little while back. Do you now support other social platforms like Blue Sky and Threads and, Mastodon? Where are you in that market to social media?
Yeah, we'd like to be everywhere where people are, and that comes with the cost and time and energy. But to answer your question, yes, we have Blue Sky support. Yes, we have Thread support. We don't have Mastodon. I don't think it's hit that mark of usage yet that we feel like we should, add support for another platform. As you probably know, with true fans even, these platform integrations, while they're easy to set up, they're harder to maintain because each platform has changing APIs, various different requirements for their integration, and things break. And generally, this is what people are paying us to do, right? Keep all these things and the pipes working. So we look to add any platform that's gotten to a critical mass. So we see Threads. Threads has actually grown a good amount this past year. I'd say Blue Sky was growing a little bit more before. We still mostly post to YouTube and Instagram. TikTok's probably a close third. LinkedIn has been growing as well as a medium. As you probably know, they've invested heavily in podcasting and also video clips. So we've been publishing to LinkedIn as well, more than I expected. So we'll follow where audiences are. Again, back to our mission, which is if you've made great content, make sure people hear it and now see it. And we think that we need to put it in front of people and not make them go find it. So wherever people are, we'll try to get it to them.
So one of the things I've talked about is hosts. The traditional role of a host was to upload your audio and distribute it to as many endpoints using RSS. I said that the modern day host really should be looking to also create clips and distribute to as many of the endpoints, the things you just mentioned, right? Because I think discovery of shows has been really good through shorts and clips across social media. I don't think I've ever seen a Joe Rogan show or a Diary of a CEO, but I've seen enough clips to get a feel for them. So my question is, and I joke with James on a regular basis, that Headliner, is an acquisition because you've got such a great platform. It seems such a logical fit to take what you do and bring it to a host. Or are you going to follow the current trend like True Fans, Fountain, Riverside and others and become a host and then you do the whole thing? Where's Headliner in that?
Excellent question. For us, it's easy. We've got integrations, I think, with over a dozen hosting platforms, and hopefully we can have one with true fans too. And so we do not want to become a host. I think we like playing on our land and what we've got, and we like to work with the hosts that are there. And many of the hosts that have built out this infrastructure realize it's not their core competency. Several, including Omni, pivoted, like I think Acast and Omni are two examples that integrate with us when they had spent engineering time and effort and realized keeping up with Threads, TikTok. Oh, now YouTube Shorts supports up to 3 minutes. I've got to change all this. Your roadmap is defined by these third parties that are ancillary pieces of your platform. Not a good strategic decision. And so they've outsourced that stuff to us, which for us, it is core and central. And so we are doing it. So that's a long way of saying we love our hosting partners. We want to integrate with more. Video Clip, given the conversation about video, is already integrated with a host, Hubhopper. I don't know if you caught that release. So we've done video clips for that host. I think 3 more coming in the coming week to month, all in various stages of testing our integration. And we believe the host should be the central hub for the creator. And we would love to integrate with you and any host out there. And we've kind of kept on building. I think many of these hosts that are building are going to realize over time, there's only so many hours in a day. And every engineering decision has opportunity costs. And what is your core competency as a host? Is it the social posting, or is it actually some other aspect, whether it be monetization or delivery or you name it?
Okay, so you're not going to become a host, but you like integrating. And yes, we will have a conversation after this. But when's enough for Neal Mody? When does Neal Mody say 10 years, 12 years? When would you want to exit from Headliner? How long's a piece of string, I guess, but do you have any plans to exit?
Well, we've had interest many times, as you can probably imagine. And we've maybe chatted about this before. We're lucky enough that we had an exit behind us. And my general thought is exits are thought of as positive in the community. But actually, as a second-time entrepreneur, exit in some ways is somewhat of a failure. We built this company to be the biggest platform for getting your audience out there across the web. And I would say we don't toot our own horn, but I would probably argue that more people have discovered podcasts via Headliner than almost any other platform, including Apple, Spotify, etc. The power of social and YouTube, now that YouTube's in it, obviously, I think we've spearheaded YouTube's growth for all those audio episodes we brought into YouTube. So that's not to say that there's going to be someone who wants to win this entire market and reach every person on the planet with podcasts. That partner, and if they see that goal like we have, I would say there's 8 billion people on the planet. If only 500 million are listening to podcasts, we're still doing something wrong. YouTube was a big reason I think we can hit 1 billion users. But there's 8 billion people on the planet. Again, podcasts should be hitting 4 or 5 billion people. And we think from kind of the data, we don't get all of it because a lot of people post themselves, but we think we're in the many hundreds of millions of touch point. And so we think we have a good shot to try to get to more users, whether it be independently or with another entity that sees it the same way. We'll see. But yeah, we like what we're doing. And like I said, it's hard to complain when you're a profitable growing startup. I miss the days of everyone wanting to be a podcaster for sure. We were growing even faster then. But like I said, the last few years we've picked up dramatically with podcast promo and disco growing. And I'm excited for video podcasting too, given video's been our thing since we've started.
So if anyone wants to find out more about Headliner and the features and functions we've discussed, where would they go?
Yeah, sure. Headliner.app is our web presence, and they could always email me, Neal, Neil, at headliner.app. So it's HEADLINER.app. Neal at headliner.app.
And Neal, will you be in London for the podcast show?
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can knock back a pint and enjoy, and hopefully see you and everyone there.
We will.
Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
The Pod News Weekly Review will return in just a second.
The School of Podcasting with Dave Jackson.
Hey, I'm Dave Jackson, host of the School of Podcasting. If you want to start a podcast or make the one you already have better, this is the show for you. Every week, I share tips, insights, and proven strategies to help you podcast with more confidence and less confusion. No hype, no BS, delivered by someone who's been helping people understand technology for over 30 years. I do my best to make everything fun as well as easy. Here's an example. Want to follow the show and never miss an episode? Just go to schoolofpodcasting.com/follow. That's schoolofpodcasting.com/follow. See what I did there? We're reinforcing my brand, schoolofpodcasting.com, and giving you one easy link to follow. There's a lot more lessons. Just go to schoolofpodcasting.com/follow.
The Pod News Weekly Review
With Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout. Start podcasting, keep podcasting.
James, we talked a little bit about SiriusXM and the number of people who were 13 plus that they could reach. But Sounds Profitable have released new research on audio primes. What are audio primes, James?
This is great data. So, sponsored by RSS.com. This is all about the people who listen more than they watch. In fact, listen to at least 75% of their content as audio. These are people who prefer audio, which is about 22% of podcast consumers. So some really good figures in terms of this. Now, I thought, okay, people who prefer audio rather than video, they'll be old. They'll be probably they're not particularly interested because, they're not particularly rich, and so therefore they don't have a decent screen or blah, blah, blah. None of this is true. None of this is true. So they actually over-index for younger folk, and by younger here I'm talking under 54, that much younger, but they over-index in terms of that. Which is really interesting. They over-index in terms of being more educated, of being higher earning, So they are absolutely nothing that I assumed that they were. Plus, they actually don't hate video. They actually use video more as well. So they use YouTube more than everyone else. They use, streaming TV. They use TikTok more than everyone else. So they actually like video as well. But it's just that they really appreciate audio. And I just thought, what a clever slice of the data to actually show what people who really enjoy audio podcasts rather than video podcasts, what sort of people they are.
Would you define yourself then as an audio prime?
Yes, absolutely. I would not. I do watch. Video, but I watch stuff made for video. And so there was a piece that the Wall Street Journal released this week. Did you see that? This piece from the Wall Street Journal?
Yes.
It was brilliant. So there was this piece from the Wall Street Journal, which I loved. And it was basically, how video podcasts are making audio podcasts worse to listen to. And it was talking about podcasters referring to things on screen that you can't see and blah, blah, blah. And the piece starts by quoting a podcast listener who says that she's annoyed by this sort of thing. Somebody called Jordan Blair, a 35-year-old from Idaho.
She's not that old, is she?
And there is a picture of Buzzsprout's Jordan Blair wearing some very intelligent-looking horn-rimmed spectacles, totally uncredited as working for Buzzsprout or working for a podcast company. No, she's just a listener, and she really hates this sort of thing. And I thought, brilliant, good on you, Jordan. So yes, very, very impressive that was. So yes,
the prime of Miss Jean Brody.
So I am definitely on the Jordan Blair scale. I prefer audio shows that are built for audio. If they happen to have video, that's fine. But if you're telling me stuff that I'm now missing out on because I can't see the screen, well, that's a bad thing. So I'm on Team Jordan, most definitely.
Excellent. You'll be in London. You can chat about that Wall Street Journal article with her.
The Wall Street Journal's Jordan Blair, everybody.
Indeed. Now, James, what's your score? Now, not the football score. This is Bumper have launched the Bumper Score, a new tool to build close trust and close the gap between podcast listenership and advertiser confidence. What's the score all about, James?
What is the score all about? So this is a new score that Bumper are bringing out. It's based on verified metrics, so metrics like Apple Podcasts, watch time, listen time, YouTube, watch time, listen time, all of that kind of stuff. And it ends up giving your podcast a score between 0 and 200. If you're above 100, you're above the average, is the plan. And it basically shows advertisers how good you are at keeping people engaged and all of that. Now, you asked what the score was. We don't have a score yet, but it is going to be free to everybody. If you want to join the waitlist, you can. wearebumper.com/score is where to do that. It's an interesting idea. What do you think of the idea, Sam?
Well, I'm a big fan of Bumper, both the guys, Dan and Jonas. I think the score is an interesting metric. With my CEO of True Fans hat on, of course, I support listen time, watch time, and those metrics. The only concern I have is how much is that score just a Bumper score, or how much is it going to be an industry score? Because if it's just a Bumper score, then, well, it's great for their clients, but it doesn't really add value across the industry. But if they can make that metric and the way that they measure that score available, and others can then jump on board and use the same methodology, then the score could become interesting. So it's how are they going to open this up to everybody, or is it just going to be their own little score?
No, I completely agree with that, and I think it's to me, the Bumper score, and the fact that we don't know how it's actually calculated. We know what numbers go into it, some of the numbers that go into it, but we don't know how it's calculated. I'm there thinking, I hope that, you can't build a trust gap with something that is a proprietary thing that we don't know how it's calculated. So from that point of view, that's my issue with it. I quite like the idea. And what I would be interested in is seeing whether Bumper would work with Oxford Road, who have Orbit. Orbit is their very clever tool that helps them know how successful a podcast is in terms of advertising, how many things that particular podcast sold. And I would be interested in seeing how the Bumper score, which is all about people paying attention to that show, links with Orbit's score as well, because that would then at least show that the Bumper score is useful. I'm not sure necessarily that we know that yet. And so I think the jury's a little bit out in terms of that. Dan is very excited. Dan has told me that they will be public in terms of how the score is generated. And I think that makes sense. So the proof will be in the pudding, as they say.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting Dan in London, actually, and hopefully can sit down with him and find out more about this.
Yeah,
because
he's very good. He's got a very good radio voice, as you'll know, hasn't
he?
Yes, yeah, very good.
So's Matt Cundall. I mean, what is it with these people? And so's Tom Webster. Yeah. Something's wrong here. Right, moving on. Acast have published its annual report, James. What was it? Good, bad? Did they get an A+, a D-?
Yeah, I think they got. I think I would give them an A for Acast.
Right.
Possibly not an A+, because they did make an overall loss of -$12 million. So there is always that, but sales growth, lots and lots and lots of sales growth. North America is having a great time, 60% up year on year. Overall sales grew by 30% year on year. So they are doing pretty well in terms of their sales numbers. There is obviously cost of sale and cost of content and all of that, which is why there is a small overall loss. There's also a lot more employees as well. It was 364 employees they used to have a year ago. Now they've got 429. That's a big step up, isn't it? But you should assume, I suppose, that with those additional employees, they should see additional revenue coming from that. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good overall for Acast. They seem to be probably the most international podcast sales company that is out there. There's a lot of very big, successful ones that only focus on one particular territory, and I think Acast has done a very good job of going, you know what, we're going to cover everywhere. And so they've got teams in Singapore, Timmy in Singapore, Henrik here in Australia, alongside Guy, and lots of other people. And I think that is Acast's secret sauce, in that actually, when some countries don't do particularly well, you can look at Europe for that. North America helps them out. And similarly, when North America won't do very well, Europe will help them out. So I think it's a good thing, overall, yeah.
I think for me, when Apple announced their proprietary API for video and Acast and Simplecast/AdsWiz were in it, I was very bullish for Acast, because I think if Apple Video is successful, Acast, I think, will be at the forefront of making that successful. It'll be interesting to see their next results and the effect of that Apple Video. Did it make any dent, or was it, a roaring success? So it'll be interesting to watch that one.
Yes, indeed. I think a fascinating company to watch.
Netflix. Yes, they've released their results. I only mention it because they're now doing podcasting, otherwise I wouldn't be bothered. He was bullish on podcasting though, James, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. This is Ted Sarandos's answer. Listen for the bit that'll make you cringe.
I think what's most exciting about it, even though it's very early days, what we're seeing is some data that would indicate that we're gaining incremental engagement to the platform. And how do we know it's incremental? Well, two things really jump out. One is the daytime viewing. So podcast consumption indexes to daytime hours on Netflix, which now allows us to capture a time where we historically have less engagement during the day. The other one is that it indexes much more mobile. So podcasting being more mobile than professional TV, and professional TV and film historically makes up a pretty small percentage of mobile viewing. So it's great that we get to meet our members where they are, even when they're enjoying other forms of entertainment.
Professional TV, Sam. Oh, wow. That's a burn, isn't it? Yeah, podcasting, well, it does so much better than professional TV. Oh, professional TV, eh? Okay.
I didn't know I was a member. That's nice. I'm a member. I'm a member of Netflix.
Yeah, you're a member of Netflix.
I was a paid subscriber.
You're a member of Netflix, and you're probably watching quite a lot of that there, professional TV.
Well, I think it's what we said a few weeks ago when they got into podcasting. You know, Netflix and chill is really a nighttime experience on the big TV.
Yeah.
And clearly they want the attention on the daytime, which is what Ted was talking about.
Exactly. So on daytime, you know, the unprofessional TV is what people watch. Or as Louis Theroux says.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Louis Theroux podcast, or if you're watching it on Spotify, the Louis Theroux Slightly Shit TV show.
Yes. So can't get enough of that clip. You know, here we are in the unprofessional TV world. I can see what Ted is saying. I think possibly he meant polished. But anyway, but
or cheap.
Cheap,
I think he's looking at.
Or cheap. But I mean, you know, but that's all of the information that they shared around podcasting. Of course, podcasting still only available in the US because to Netflix, nothing else exists and nothing else matters. But from that point of view, at least we know a little bit more, but no consumption information there at all in terms of how they've worked. They have also announced some more podcasts on their platform, which aren't podcasts, which aren't available anywhere else. So, you know, and again, don't get me started on what is a podcast, but that is clearly an issue as well.
One thing that they do not do yet is break out their podcast revenue stream. So it's super early, but they don't at the moment. I mean, they've increased their revenues to 12.25 billion, which is 16% growth. But the share price fell on the announcement that their co-founder, Reed Hastings, is departing the board. So, you know, it's all change at Netflix. You know, they didn't get Warner Brothers. That was a big loss to them. So, you know, I don't think Netflix is as strong or as secure. You know, yes, the revenues are going up, but I don't think they're quite sure of where their direction is going forward, I think. What's going on around the world, James? Fox One have added podcasts, I understand. What's this about?
Yes, Fox One is another streaming service run by the excellent Rupert Murdoch. Won't hear a bad word said against him, although 10 might be fine. It's called Fox One, and 8 podcast shows will be available on that platform, sourced from the ever-reliable Fox News and Red Seat Ventures. Also, Hulu has more podcasts going onto that platform as well. HeadGum have signed 3 more shows to appear on Hulu. Interestingly, this isn't an exclusive deal. This is just a view first deal, which I think makes much more sense. So those are on the way over to Hulu. And CNN will have a video podcast. Ari Shapiro has joined CNN as a contributor and will co-present a video podcast alongside Audie Cornish, who of course used to be at NPR. The video podcast is audio only on Apple Podcasts. So it's not a video podcast, is it? But it's also available on video on YouTube, Spotify, and CNN's streaming service, whatever CNN's streaming service is called these days. Is it just called CNN now? And anyway, there is now another streaming platform. Well, it's a streaming sort of service called Sane TV. Save America News and Entertainment Television. It's from Crooked Media. Weirdly, they've not called it Crooked TV. Oh no, I understand why now. And they have a 24/7 stream of political analysis, culture deep dives on Amazon Prime Video, and plans to expand further in Fast TV and all of that, which looks interesting. I think, you know, Fast TV, there's definitely something there in terms of how all of that works. So I think from, you know, from that point of view, I think you know, Crooked Media to get involved in that sort of thing, of course, makes a ton of sense.
Now, one of the things that's interesting is I think it's the number 2 or 3 podcast, or it has been for a while, Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper. But not all is well in the world of Alex Cooper. What's going on, James?
Yes. Or as I captioned this, is Alex Cooper's podcast network feeling a little under the weather because it's called the Unwell Network. You see, that was a joke.
Very good.
Yes, very good. Anyway, this is Ashley Carman, friend of the show, who has written a long article for her paid newsletter. And all kinds of things that I didn't feel entirely comfortable about legally repeating, but stories about high employee turnover, some bad behaviour, allegedly, from CEO Matt Kaplan. I'm sure that Matt would deny it all. But basically all of that. Ashley has also pointed out that actually, if you were to take a look at the Unwell Network, they've not got any other hits other than Call Her Daddy. Is the Unwell Network just a one-track pony or a one-trick pony? You can be both a trap and a trick there. But yes, so from all of that point of view, it's a really interesting... I tell you what, it's an interesting article to read, particularly interesting article to read, knowing that Bloomberg have lots of lawyers, and this has gone through lots of lawyers, and they have allowed Ashley to get away with all kinds of things that I don't think I would be able to actually do. So Ashley is clearly very well sourced and can back up all of this stuff. But it's a fascinating article. If you want to read that, it's in Screen Time, actually, which is one of the Bloomberg newsletters that you can pay for, or if you know how to get past Bloomberg's paywall, then you can use that too. Fascinating.
Don't tell everybody. No.
Yes. No. Nobody. Do you know it would be against the DMCA for me to explain how to do that. So I won't do that.
Well, don't.
Yeah.
Now, you're in enough trouble with lawyers. We don't.
Yes, enough trouble with lawyers. Let's move on. And then finally, the Australian podcast ranker came out for March. Interestingly, the number 1 show here in Australia is Mamma Mia Out Loud, which is a women's podcast, a women's interest podcast is probably the easiest way of explaining it. Lots of people will turn around and say podcasting is really male dominated and it's all men and blah, 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 blah. Not in this country, it isn't. They have double the total downloads of the number 2 show from Hamish and Andy, Mamma Mia Out Loud, which is well and truly in front of anything else. News is the number 1 genre here. Al Jazeera is a new publisher to the Australian podcast ranker. Just interesting seeing how well Mamma Mia is doing, in terms of that.
Podcast events on the Pod News Weekly Review.
Yes, awards and events. And we had a good scoop this week. It's been a good couple of weeks for the Pod News newsletter, I think. We had a good scoop with all of the winners for the annual Webby Awards, all of the winners in there. I even wrote a little bit of code that would pull all of the artwork thumbnails from the winners list so that I could then use it in the header image, which I felt very clever about. So a great big list, including iHeartMedia winning the Webby Company of the Year award for podcasting. Best New Podcast was Goalhanger's The Rest is Science. Good Hang with Amy Poehler won 4 awards, but a show that I have not heard of before, the Jamie Kern-Lima Show, won 5 awards for an episode with Michelle Obama. So realistically, and I don't want to be rude, but realistically, Michelle Obama has won 5 awards in the Webby Awards, because that's basically what happened there. But good on Jamie Kern-Lima for entering it and entering as many categories as she obviously has. It's a really interesting list. Loads of people are there. We should say congratulations to Things Bakers Know, the King Arthur Baking podcast, who are hosted on our sponsors Buzzsprout. Also the Murderer Killings, a true crime podcast that won scripted fiction. Also hosted on Buzzsprout, the Broken Ground podcast, which is all about sustainability and environment. It was Earth Day this week, of course, as well. Also hosted by Buzzsprout as well. So Buzzsprout, in fact, got 4 winners. The Murderer Killings got 2 awards in the Webbies. So congratulations, hurrah, to Buzzsprout as well.
Yes, well done. Now, moving on to events, James. Fountain are hosting an event in London to do with music. What's this one about?
Yes, there's a very famous East End pub that does a lot of live music. It's called the Old Blue Last, and Fountain is hosting a live event next Thursday, April the 30th. And it's kind of part conference and then part concert. So listen to me. How old am I? Part concert, part gig. Yes, so you can go along between 4:30 and 6 on Thursday and enjoy an introduction to the new music economy. Oscar Merry will be giving a talk around how music can be hosted on RSS and how you can get paid for that. And then there's a night of live music at the Old Blue Last with lots of upcoming UK bands, which will be streamed live on Fountain and True Fans and other supporting podcast apps. You will have the ability to pay the artists directly as you listen. So all of that will work fantastically. And it's a pretty cool thing. It's a very early beginning for RSS-based music hosting, but I think it's definitely a thing. It's I think free to go, or maybe there's a very small charge, but not very much of a charge, but you should be supporting all of this anyway. Thursday, April the 30th in London. You can find out more details, fountain.fm/live.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'll get Oscar on the show the week after to talk about what happened at the event. So that would be nice.
The tech stuff on the Pod News Weekly Review.
Yes, it's the stuff you'll find every Monday in the Pod News newsletter. Here's where Sam talks technology.
Yeah, a couple of things here. Adobe Premiere Pro now offers a new on-device speech-to-text transcription tool. Seems a lot of people are now looking to offload the transcription to the device rather than do it in the cloud, James.
Yeah, I think, this is happening more and more. Partially, it's a privacy thing. I mean, if I'm working on a news story that will take down the government, the last thing that I really want in order to make that story is for the audio that I've got to be transcribed on the cloud where the government will be listening. So Hindenburg Pro has offered, on your device transcription for quite some time now, for almost 2 years, I think. Adobe Premiere Pro, their video editor, is now offering the same sort of thing. So that allows you to transcribe both video and audio. The interesting thing is that it says that the tool claims it can transcribe an hour of audio in less than a minute.
Wow.
If that's true, and obviously it must be true because, it's from Adobe and they would never lie. But if it's true, then, wow, is that a pig that I've just seen flying past? That's inordinately fast. I cannot believe that to be the case, particularly on a crappy laptop that isn't actually, in the cloud. I'm not sure that that's entirely true, but I'm sure that it will do an hour of audio in less than 10 minutes. Yes, absolutely. But less than a minute? Really? Gosh.
Should we try it? I'll crank it up and we'll do this show. We'll see what happens.
Well, if you've got Adobe Premiere Pro, and of course you will do because you live in a castle and you drive a Range Rover. So of course
I have a very nice friend. I have a very nice friend.
Of course you're going to be paying for that. Yes. Anyway, let's move on.
Lastly, Million Podcast comes out of beta. What's this one?
Yeah, so this is a company which is based in Mumbai in India. It's a searchable database of podcasts, essentially, but it's built for people that are essentially looking for shows to pitch clients or themselves to. and all of that. There is a free tier, so you can go and have a look at what it's got in it, but you can't necessarily see all of it. I think it's useful for people that want to spam podcasters, unfortunately, but I think it's also good for people that do genuinely want to get in touch with individual shows and see how all of that works. It's got some pretty good information, actually, that it's managed to find for this very show, for example. So I think it's done quite a nice job, in terms of that. But it's from Anuj Agarwal, who has been working on other things as well. So I thought, it's a bootstrap company based in India. It's probably quite interesting, I think.
Boostergram, super comments, zaps, fan mail, and voicemail. Our favorite time of the week, it's the Pod News Weekly Review inbox.
Yes, so many different ways to get in touch with us. Fan mail by using the link in our show notes, or boosts, or email, and we share all of the money that we make as well, which is all good. Thank you to the many people who have been streaming this show on an app like TrueFans or Fountain or Podcast Guru. You have streamed 7,800 sats, which is up 127% week on week. So hurrah for you. Thank you very much. And thank you also to a bunch of people that have got in touch with us using Buzzsprout's fan mail, which is linked from the top of our show notes, including Thomas Verheim, who has left us this message.
Hi guys. First of all, I want to thank you for a great show. My name is Thomas Verheim and I'm working for Schibsted in Norway. Previously, I worked for Acast. So my question is, why do you think YouTube is topping the charts in almost every country when it comes to podcast listening? I struggle to believe that, because when I listen to podcasts on YouTube, and mostly on my bike or my way home, I have to press play, make sure the screen is on, and then put my phone in my pocket. And after like 2 minutes, there's an ad break. So I have to stop my bike, pick up my phone, and manually skip the ad before I'm able to keep listening. So, do you think this has to do with how the question is asked? Or do you think people just have a different opinion on what a podcast is?
There's a question. Why do you think YouTube always ends up as being number one?
Is it because they just do auto plays and count 1 second as a play?
I think it could be a bit of that. I think it's also probably people versus consumption still. I know that Edison's infinite dial has told me I'm wrong, but I still think YouTube is probably number one in terms of the amount of people who are consuming something that they consider to be a podcast. But when you look at total time spent listening, my own thought is that can't possibly be true. But Edison's infinite dial very clearly says no, it's number one for consumption as well. So, yeah, I don't know, Thomas. I genuinely don't know. It's a great, great question, because the more people who you talk to, like us, the more people who turn around and say, I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is number one. But the majority of the research that we see seems to show it is number one. So perhaps that just shows how out of touch we all are with the real world. Maybe it's that. I don't know.
Well, did we get any other fan mail, James?
We did. We got, we seem to be big in Alaska. Oh, we're big in Alaska. What have we got? We've got one from I don't know. One from Glen Allen.
Are we going on tour there? Are we? Are we going on tour? To
why not? One from Glen Allen in Alaska. Where is Glen Allen? I wonder. I'm pressing the button. I'm just finding out. I'm just curious as to whether
that's not his name. That's not his name.
That's not his name. I was curious as to whether it was close to Anchorage, and the answer is no, not really. Yes, so something from Glenn Allen. With regard to your recent comment about Overcast being an opinionated podcast app, which I called it, which I think is fair. I don't think anybody will mind about that. A number of years ago, when creator Marco Arment stated that he didn't want any money from anyone who disagreed with him politically, I complied by cancelling my subscription and requested a refund. Apparently, his declaration was political posturing more than anything else because he ignored me and I never got my refund. Ouch. Yes, I missed Marco Arment saying that sort of thing, but that sounds a very Marco Arment thing to say. But yes, I think Overcast is one of those apps which, very clearly it's a particular use case, built for a particular user, and there's nothing wrong with that in terms of podcast apps. I think it's a great thing. Thank you, Mr. Anonymous or Mrs. Anonymous or Master Anonymous or Miss Anonymous from Glen Allen in Alaska and just up the road in Anchorage.
Yep.
Regarding the AI copycat of podcasts, I would think there is a legal remedy. Many companies have sued copycats for similar, though not identical, artwork, and similar but not identical logos, and so on. Yes, correct. And it's a thing called the, I'm going to call it the Lumen Act. It's not the Lumen Act, but I can't quite remember what it's called. But it's called something about that, and it's a rule around passing off. Which is the thing. So, yes, totally get that. I suppose the question, though, is if you're a small podcaster and you just produce one little show and it's a side hustle, then do you want to get lawyers involved to stop these people from doing something like that? Or would you prefer that people just didn't do it anyway? I think I would lean on to the just behave. I think that would be good.
Yes.
I think that would be good.
Stop it.
Yes, exactly. Stop it. And this person from Anchorage goes on, with regards to the AI copycats, this may actually be one of the few situations where a DMCA takedown notice works for the benefit of individuals as opposed to corporations who tend to use them and abuse them. Yeah, DMCA is a fascinating thing. And what I essentially will quite often do is I will pull stuff off while I look at whether or not it should be coming off in terms of DMCA or in terms of any other legal challenge. And then sometimes I'll just stick it back on there quietly, and say, no, I don't necessarily agree with you. Probably if I had a proper American lawyer, then they would tell me that that's a bad idea. But I think definitely DMCA is a fascinating thing. So do we have any boosts and things from true fans? What have we got?
Well, I mean, I'm glad to see that in Runway, because I've got an image here, that you are receiving them loud and clear. So that's good news.
Yes, some of them by the looks of things.
Yeah, but I'm not sure why you're not getting all of them. So I don't know. We'll have to have a look at that one. You didn't get my one.
I tell you what it is. Because you fixed it on Saturday.
Yes.
That's what happened there. So actually, the ones from Claire and Neal and Seth that you're just about to read out, it came while it wasn't working, but I think it's all been fixed again. So I'll read the ones that worked.
Yeah.
The Ugly Quacking Duck. Thank you, Bruce. Another Row of Ducks. Double two sats. How about a video podcast on how bots have taken over the world? Slop, and more slop all over. Oh, wait, maybe it has already been done. Or maybe it should be. 7-3. Yes. No, I'm not making a video podcast, Bruce, but thank you for your idea. That's very kind. And Martin Lindeskog, using True Fans, it is all good fun. I agree. James, you are good at bleeping out the word f***. Yes, I enjoy bleeping out the word f***. It's good fun.
He's going to miss it one week. You know he's going to say this, and he's going to be rushing out the door to do something and go, Did I get that one in?
Did I bleep that f*** out?
No.
Oh, f***ing hell, I didn't. Yes, exactly. So anyway, here's a row of sticks. Yes, 1111 sets. More Satoshis next week. Oh, good. Thank you very much for that. That's very exciting.
Yeah, Claire Waite Brown said, thanks for not swishing over the People news this week. Yes, well done. Yes, we didn't. Neal Velio said, exactly, a tidal wave of shit. Bravo. So, yes.
Oh, yes. That was my phrase about AI, wasn't it?
Yes. And he sent us also a lovely set of sats as well, and saying, please call Inception Point Podcast what they are. AI slop. Yes, we will continue to do that, Neal. Don't worry.
Yes, indeed. And thank you to our many power supporters. You are the reason why we will be able to afford drinks at the London Podcast Show. More details of that to come a little bit closer to the time, but you are the reason why. Well, I'll put some of my money behind the bar anyway. But
sorry, are we opening up the Cridland wallet?
Well, hey, what are you saying? Yes, we may be opening up a Cridland wallet a little bit. Although what I have been saying, the few people who I have already invited to our drinks,
right. Yes.
What I have been saying is, please pretend that you're a customer of Buzzsprout, because then they will buy them.
No, we're okay. No, as part of our agreement, I agreed that we would invite people that we from Pod News normally invite as well.
Excellent.
So that's
well,
fine. You're okay. You're covered.
Well, there's a thing. I'm not quite sure what the agreement says about who's paying, but let's cover that later. So thank you to people like Rachel Corbett, Dave Jackson, Mike at the Road Media Network, and Matt Medeiros for your very kind support. We really appreciate that. So thank you so much. What's happened for you, Sam?
Well, first of all, I noticed a really interesting job from Message Her just on the Pod News job board, which Spanish language video podcast editor, Paddle Sports Podcast. Oh, God.
Oh, Paddle. Oh, Paddle.
So if all else fails,
you could work for Jake Warren in Message Her.
Yes, yeah.
Couldn't you? Yeah, very good.
One problem, I don't speak Spanish, but other than that, I'm excellent, Jake. Don't worry.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Excellent.
I added support for Dave Jones's new spam API. So on TrueFans, we took that API, we ran it through our local database, and we discovered over 1,000 podcasts that Dave had marked as spam. So we removed those. And now we have a process that runs basically when we add new episodes, we check it through the spam API as well. And if they're in there, we don't add them.
Nice. Very smart. What else has TrueFans done this week?
We added a bot blocker. So one of the things TrueFans does is we stream content we don't download. And because of that, we've noticed that there are a load of bots that we're also streaming. And normally that's not a big problem, but the charging model we have is that we charge per megabyte of streaming. So if bots are streaming, then guess what? The creator's paying. And that didn't seem fair. We could hide the bots post-streaming. That's what we did before, which would give you a true indication of your plays and listen time. But we felt that users would want a way to block the bots. So we've done that now. So you can now physically block a bot and the bot cannot stream your content anymore, which is great. We're being very cautious with it, obviously, because I think, some people might get a little bit bot block happy and could cause themselves some problems.
Has anybody mentioned you in a positive way on LinkedIn recently?
Well, I have to say, young Matt Deegan, I'll call him that now. Yes, he said, I think what TrueFans are doing with podcast stats is really interesting. A combination of splitting out bots and measuring consumption is something worth watching. I was pleasantly pleased last night when I saw that. Thank you, Matt.
No, very good. I'm looking forward to seeing him at the podcast show in May as well.
Yes. Now, James, what's been happening for you?
Oh, I was on the telly again this morning. Yes, talking about the radio. It's really interesting when you do something.
Have you got an agent now?
When you do something a second time, so you turn up to the same TV studios, you know what to do, you know where to go, you know what to expect, you know where you can put notes and where you don't, and all of that kind of stuff. When you do that, it's so different, isn't it, to when you just don't really know what's going on. And so, so it was great to be on, and great to be on talking about Kyle and Jackie O all over again on national national television, which sounds really impressive until you add in Australia to the end of that sentence. But that was very good. So I enjoyed doing that, and I also enjoyed listening to. Well, I'm going to pretend it was a podcast. It was on the radio, so actually it wasn't. But you can get it as a podcast. There's a show called Conversations, which is one of the biggest shows here in Australia. It's an hour-long interview with different people. But it's an hour-long interview with different people done by somebody who is a really properly good interviewer. They have teams of researchers, quite similar to Fresh Air in many ways, but it's called Conversations here. It's done by a man with the unfortunate name of Richard Feidler, which if you write that down, you'll realise why that's slightly more unfortunate. But anyway, it's a great show. And there was an interview that he did today with Sandy Toksvig. And Sandy will be well known to many people who listen to this as being an English comedian. She's not, she's Danish, but a Danish-English comedian who hosts QI. But my goodness, she's got an incredible backstory, and what her family did and what her great-grandfather did and all this kind of stuff. Really, really interested. And I listened to the first 40 minutes of it, and I was thinking, this is fascinating. And they'd only got up to her at university 40 minutes in. So, wow. It's a really, really good listen. So I would heartily recommend that. You'll find Conversations wherever you find your podcasts. But if you know who Sandy Toksvig is, if you don't know who Sandy Toksvig is, it's of total non-interest to you. But if you do know who Sandy Toksvig is, my goodness, it's worth a listen. So heartily recommend
that later then.
Yeah, heartily recommend that. And I have one more question for you. When is unreliable? Right. When is unreliable trivia coming back? Because I'm missing unreliable trivia.
Well, I've got a good one for you. Why do we say the word goodbye?
Hang on.
And now, unreliable trivia with Sam Sethi.
Go on, Sam.
So the word goodbye comes from, in the 16th century, we used to say God be with you, and then it changed to God be with ye, and then it shortened to goodbye.
That was Unreliable Trivia with Sam Sethi. Trivia may not be truthful. Please check all facts before acting on them. No guarantees are given. Use this trivia with caution, especially in a pub quiz or a similar situation. Terms and conditions apply.
Good. I just wanted to use those. And that's it for this week. All of our podcast stories taken from the Pod News daily newsletter at podnews.net.
You can support this show by streaming sats. You can give us feedback using the Buzzsprout thumbnail or voicemail link in our show notes, and you can send us a boost or become a power supporter like the 24 power supporters at weekly.podnews.net, who we hope to see at our drinks as well.
Yes, more details of that coming soon. And the only place, by the way, that you will learn about the drinks will be this very podcast. So make sure that you have a listen, because my goodness, I'm not sending it to 33,000 people. That would be a mistake.
No.
Our music is from TM Studios. Our voiceover is Sheila D. Our audio is recorded using CleanFeed. We edit with Hindenburg. And we're hosted and sponsored by Buzzsprout. Start podcasting. Keep podcasting.
Get updated every day. Subscribe to our newsletter at podnews.net. Tell your friends and grow the show. And support us. The Pod News Weekly Review will return next week. Keep listening.